Good evening, everyone. So we will be starting our session in another 10 minutes. So in the meanwhile, if anyone wants to remind their friends about this session, then please do so. And we look forward to have you have a great learning experience today. So do remind your friends or anyone that we will be starting this session in another uh, 5 to 10 minutes. Good evening, everyone. Hello, Janardhan.
Good evening, Chaitanya.
Yeah, so I think we can start the session in a minute. So yeah, so let me so welcome everyone. Welcome to this session on AI powered code generation, a deep dive into GitHub Copilot. So today we have with us Janardhan, who is a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional MVP in C Sharp, and he is also Microsoft Certified Trainer. He will be guiding us today about GitHub Copilot. And welcome, Janardhan. Welcome, everyone.
So thank you, Chaitanya, for providing me the opportunity to present as part of the Code Without Barriers session on AI-powered code generation part. So I believe my screen is visible.
Yes, Janardhan, your screen is visible. So this is also a reminder to everyone. Please remind your friends. If anyone wants to join, they can join. We are just starting the session, so they can also get help from this session. So do remind your friends and everyone, colleagues.
Okay. So good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining your time on this Code Without Barriers session. The topic for today, which is AI-powered code generation, a deep dive into the GitHub Copilot. So already Chaitanya has given an introduction about me. So I am Janathan Selvaraj. So I am a technical manager as well as senior specialist at Evident. And I'm a Microsoft certified trainer as well as C# Copilot MVP. And I used to talk for all AI related events as well as the Azure related events across the globe. And I'm a top voice in both AI as well as the machine learning field. Okay. So at the end, I will share my QR code. If you want me, if you guys want me to connect on LinkedIn, feel free to connect me. So this is the agenda of today. So the today's agenda is on the GitHub Copilot part. So we will see the GitHub Copilot introduction, the GitHub Copilot architecture, GitHub Copilot, how to install GitHub Copilot, and how this GitHub Copilot is going to help you in terms of coding workflow, and the best practices of prompt engineering with respect to the GitHub Copilot. And finally, we'll move on to the GitHub Copilot pricing aspect. So this is the agenda for today. The first one is the GitHub Copilot. So everywhere we can see the term GitHub Copilot, GitHub Copilot. Okay, Copilot, Copilot. You might be hearing this particular terminology in the recent days. Okay. What is this GitHub Copilot all about? Okay. So there is one of the best extreme programming principle in Agile or Scrum. We used to name it as pair programming. So where there will be two roles will be there. One is called as driver role. The other role we can name it as navigator role. Okay. The driver is the one person who is going to write the code, and the navigator is the person who's review your code. Okay. So these two roles started sharing a common workstation. It could be a laptop or it could be a desktop. By sharing these two roles, very often the driver can become the role of navigator. Navigator can play the role of driver. When you started exchanging these two roles, you can get the collective code ownership. The quality, collective code ownership quality will be improved, as well as the developer productivity will be improved by you are using the principle called as AI pair programming. Okay. So that AI pair programming is one of the tool which is named as GitHub Copilot. And this GitHub Copilot, it is developed by GitHub and it is powered by OpenAI Codex model. So in your generative AI application models, there is a model which exists named as Codex model, which is termed as code generation model. You will be giving the input in the form of a text and the response you are expecting, which is a code that is called as code generation model. So one of the code generation model as part of the generative AI, we name it as GitHub Copilot. And in that, the GitHub Copilot you may able to use the GitHub Copilot in different IDE extensions. In different IDE extension, we can make use of this GitHub Copilot. So ideal programming language or any traditional programming, what is the purpose of writing comment in the sense? Comment is a way where you used to get the better code readability. So when you go for any traditional programming, if I want to build any application, programming language is highly required to write or to develop any application in traditional programming. So in the modern programming, without knowing any details on the coding aspect or the programming aspect, still you may able to build your own code with the help of GitHub Copilot. That feature is nothing but you may able to convert your comment into code that is called as context aware suggestion. The context aware suggestion is recommended by GitHub Copilot. Okay. Any comment you started writing in your IDE, the moment you hit enter, the comment will be converted into code. That type of feature is named as context aware suggestions. So this is about your overall high level overview about GitHub Copilot. Okay. And the next one is we'll move on to the next part of this GitHub Copilot. So what are the features the GitHub Copilot has? One I mentioned earlier, you may able to convert complete comment into code, which is context aware suggestions that is possible with the help of GitHub Copilot. That is context aware suggestion. The GitHub Copilot able to adapt to different coding style. You are a Java developer, you're not familiar in terms of writing a database code or writing a collection code. Okay. But you know how to comment those codes. So in your Java part, you have to install the GitHub Copilot. The moment you started install the GitHub Copilot on the top of Java, you can start using the prompt related to Java. The code will be automatically generated. Similarly, you may be a React.js developer, AngularJS developer, or maybe a Vue.js developer, or else you're a .NET Core developer. So any languages or any web-based framework, when you moment you have, you on the top of those framework, you install GitHub Copilot and you start prompting the prompt in your GitHub Copilot or any of the IDE window. The code will be generated with the help of GitHub Copilot. So with the help of this GitHub Copilot, the repetitive task or the manual work will be removed. That is one of the highlighting feature of GitHub Copilot. And the GitHub Copilot supports various languages. Various languages it is supported, various framework it is supported, your GitHub Copilot part. And GitHub Copilot continuously learns the feedback from the user as well as from the GitHub Copilot community as well. So these are the silent features of GitHub Copilot. With that, we move on to the architecture part of GitHub Copilot. This is the architecture of your GitHub Copilot part. You can see the GitHub Copilot here as a service. It is nothing but a service model of GitHub Copilot. And GitHub Copilot is originally derived from the Codex model from OpenAI. You have a Codex model, OpenAI model, and you have the respective code in the IDs. So GitHub Copilot able to provide your suggestions as well as it is also gives us the list of suggestions what has to be improved, and this GitHub Copilot provide context oriented approach for any prompt. When you started writing, it will provide high level context. Based upon the high level context, your code it is started suggesting. The list of suggestions for your code will be possible when you go for the GitHub Copilot as a service. And you have a provision to improve the suggestion. That is also possible, called as fine tuning your suggestion, or else you'll able to refining your suggestions. That feature is also possible with the help of GitHub Copilot. Is GitHub Copilot, is it a magic? The answer is no, it's not a magic. Then for code generation model, we have started using GitHub Copilot. Do we have only GitHub Copilot available, or do we have only this GitHub Copilot for code generation model existence? There are several co-pilots available as part of your Microsoft has started offering. So what are the different types of Microsoft co-pilots we have? One is co-pilot related for a web, which is your Bing and Edge. These two are the co-pilot for the web. So we have Microsoft 365 co-pilot. It could be a Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Teams, or even it could be a business chat. So all these co-pilot, it is for the productivity purpose. And for everyday AI companion is your Windows Copilot. And in your Power Platform, you have Power Platform Copilot for the low code and no code development. For security, we have a security copilot. For analytics, we have a Fabric copilot. For Power BI, we have Power BI copilot. For business and sales support team, we have a Dynamics copilot. Okay. And nowadays, the copilot it is ready-madely available in your Bing as well as part of the copilot for web as concern. So these are the high level or the different types of copilot which is existed in the market. So why do we use GitHub Copilot? Okay, what is the purpose behind this GitHub Copilot? As I mentioned earlier, the AI pair programming tool, like a driver and a navigator role, the moment they started applying the AI pair programming concept, obviously it will boost the developer productivity and it is going to enhance the code quality. For example, you are a .NET developer. You may not aware about the Java development or the Python development. You need to translate your existing coding language into another coding language. So this is going to solve all the skill gap between one development into another development. So this GitHub Copilot will be used to make a bridge for all those skill gaps. And the code quality will be enhanced if you started using GitHub Copilot. And obviously the coding speed will be improved. The person or the developer who started using GitHub Copilot and the traditional developer who is not using GitHub Copilot, automatically this will improve in terms of faster time to market and go to market skills will be improved if you started using GitHub Copilot. And Microsoft has started collecting a survey says that the GitHub Copilot almost 1 million plus developer communities started using GitHub Copilot. That is one of the recent survey. And even in the Microsoft AI tour, Satya Nadella has given the keynote as by 2026, most now as of now the GitHub Copilot in India it was second position. The first position is leading by US. That is the most developed country started using GitHub Copilot edition. And India is now the second country. By 2026, India will become the first country will use these new age AI tools or new age Copilot tools, including a GitHub Copilot will stand first position. So that is one of the keynote given by Satya Nadella during his AI Microsoft AI tour. And almost 88% people started the GitHub Copilot have a faster completion as well as 77% of time you spent less, which is obviously improved in terms of developer productivity. And the repetitive task, 87% of repetitive task has been reduced with the help of GitHub Copilot. So what do you need? So there are some of the prerequisite things in order to install your GitHub Copilot. Let me explain one by one. So the GitHub Copilot, it is editor specific. When I say editor specific, it will be currently available in 4 editors: Visual Studio Code, Vim editor, the fourth editor, which is your Intel 4J. So these are the popular editors the GitHub Copilot it supports. First, what you have to do in order to install the GitHub Copilot successful installation, you need to install the Visual Studio Code. The moment you install Visual Studio Code, which is a free version, then everyone may have the access for your Git account. In the Git account, you started purchasing the GitHub Copilot license. Once you purchase the GitHub Copilot license, you have to sign in with the GitHub Copilot license in your Visual Studio Code. The moment you sign in with the Visual Studio GitHub Copilot license, in the search bar or in the extension tab, you search for two extensions, namely GitHub Copilot and GitHub Copilot Chat. These are the two extensions you are supposed to search. After you started searching those two extensions, install those two extensions in the extension view tab. One is your GitHub Copilot and a GitHub Copilot Chat. After you install successfully these two extension and extension view, you have to restart your Visual Studio Code. Okay. Why do we need to restart the Visual Studio Code? Is for the successful implementation of your GitHub Copilot as well as GitHub Copilot Chat, you have to restart it. How do you ensure that your GitHub Copilot is installed successfully in your machine or activated successfully in your machine? You can see the GitHub Copilot icon will be there in the bottom of your Visual Studio Code, which means the moment you started clicking the Visual Studio Code icon, you will get the status information as ready. That's how you have to use the installation process of GitHub Copilot. I hope you guys are able to follow this. Can you give a thumbs up or any questions? You can put it on the chat as well. I hope the reaction says it
Yeah,
is good.
please ask your questions in the chat box.
All right.
Someone is raising the hand. Please ask the
Yes,
question in the chat
please.
box.
If you have questions, you can drop a note on the chat. I hope so. There is no questions. Yes, Copilot is free. It's excellent. Is an interesting question. The Copilot is not GitHub Copilot was not free, but Copilot is free. You can use it in the browser Bing edition. In the Bing edition, you can start using Copilot as a free one. Any other question before I proceed next? Okay. Let me move on to the presentation again. So what are the list of languages your GitHub Copilot supports? GitHub Copilot supports 8 programming languages: Python, JavaScript, Ruby, TypeScript, Go, Java, your C#, .NET. So those are the languages your GitHub Copilot by default it supports. And in terms of editor wise, it is supported in 4 editors: Visual Studio Editor, Vim Editor, Visual Studio Code, JetBrain Editor. These are the 4 editors your GitHub Copilot currently it supports. And in terms of framework support, we have AngularJS, React.js, Vue.js. These 3 popular frameworks, it is supported by GitHub Copilot. So let's see the first demo, how to set up the GitHub Copilot environment. Okay. So this is a window or this is a software. We name it as Visual Studio Code. In the Visual Studio Code, as I told earlier, what you are supposed to do is go to the extension tab. In the extension tab, you have to search for 2 extensions. What are 2 extensions you are supposed to search is, one is GitHub Copilot. The second extension we have to search it is GitHub Copilot Chat. These 2 extensions we have to search it. After you started searching these 2 extensions, you have to install these 2 extensions in the Visual Studio Code. So once your installation is done, these 2 extensions is done, you have to restart your Visual Studio Code. After you restarting the Visual Studio Code, you can see in the bottom of that Visual Studio Code, there is a GitHub Copilot icon will be enabled. So before you move on to this GitHub Copilot chat, you have to supposed to sign in with your GitHub Copilot license in the account section, because the GitHub Copilot is not free. So you have to go to the GitHub account. In the GitHub account, purchase your GitHub Copilot license. So after you have started purchasing GitHub Copilot license, you have to sign in with your account in your Visual Studio Code. Then once you sign in with the Visual Studio Code icon, you have to enter these two extensions in the extension tab, install these two extensions. Once you install these two extensions, you restart the Visual Studio Code. After you restarted the Visual Studio Code, you can see in the bottom of the screen, there is an icon called as Visual GitHub Copilot icon. If you click the GitHub Copilot icon, it will be mentioning the status as ready, which means your GitHub Copilot is installed successfully. So what are the commonly committed mistakes while doing this GitHub Copilot is people will install Visual Studio. Visual Studio Code is free. They will install the Visual Studio Code and they will install these two extensions and they will restart it and they will able to get this icon also. But the moment they click this icon, the status will not be ready. The status will be failed. So what went wrong? They will not purchase any license for GitHub Copilot. Without purchasing the GitHub Copilot license, they started installing only these extensions and they restarted it. And when they click this icon, it will say failed. If you want to troubleshoot this type of problem, the problem actual root cause of this problem is you didn't purchase any GitHub Copilot license. That was the root cause of this problem. So always purchase the GitHub Copilot license. After that, you sign up with that particular account. Then you can able to see your GitHub Copilot option is successfully ready. So this was the first environment setup related to GitHub Copilot. I hope this environment setup was clear to everyone. If it is clear, you can give me in terms of reaction, thumbs up, thumbs down. I hope it is clear in terms of the installation stuff. Okay, there is a question says, what measures the GitHub Copilot takes to ensure the generated code is of high quality, maintainable, and secure? Okay, the code generated by the GitHub Copilot, not only by the GitHub Copilot, any generative AI code, the moment it is generated, your to review the code with your concerned lead team, concerned architect team to review a code. And the code generated by all these GenAI model are maintainable and the quality is high. And we have to ensure that the security measures are in place because we are following responsible AI as well as ethical AI policy. So those policies, we have to adhere to the guidelines and principles. Is Django is supported in the GitHub Copilot? Answer is yes. Does only 4 editor support GitHub Copilot extension? Currently, it is supporting only four editors only, not all the editors. Any other questions before I move on to the actual hands-on part? That's okay. Let me move on to the second demo. The second demo says the GitHub Copilot shortcuts. So what are the GitHub Copilot shortcuts? There are 3 shortcuts I want to explain in terms of GitHub Copilot. One is if I want to start a chat in the GitHub Copilot, you have to use the 3 important keys, Control I. Control I is to type something. So let us type the question is Control I. So I'm typing a question, let's say, print hello world message. So this is the Python code. I'm typing this is the prompt. I don't know how to type it in Python. Okay. My actual intention was just typing print hello world message. Is it a plain English, right? So this plain English, and the moment I hit enter, let's see what is happening. The moment I hit enter, the code is generated. This code is generated from the repositories. And there are two ways to do this. Either you have to accept the suggestion or else to reject the suggestion. If I want to accept the suggestion, I have to press the key called as tab key. Tab key is used to accept the suggestion. If I want to reject the suggestion, I don't want this suggestion, then I have to press escape key. So what is the key I am pressing? Tab key is used to accept the suggestion. And the next one thing is your escape key is used to reject the suggestion. And if you want to start typing any, if I want to chat, I have to use the key called as Control plus I. Control plus I is a symbol. I have to use your chat. And if I want to know the list of top 10 suggestions you need, you have to use the key called as Control plus Enter. Control plus Enter is used to list the top 10 suggestions. I mean, the moment I enter Control Enter, it is going to load the list of suggestions. So these are nothing but the list of suggestions in terms of your GitHub Copilot. So what are the keys as part of the GitHub Copilot shortcut as concern is Control I is used to enter your chat part, and accepting the suggestion is nothing but your tab key. Rejecting the suggestion is nothing but your uh, escape key. Then Control Enter gives you the top 10 suggestions. So these four are the important shortcut keys. Please remember it. The next one is, let's move on to the detailed prompt of Python programming. Okay, so most of them are aware about that. Let's consider what I can say, the object-oriented programming. So I'm writing a object-oriented programming prompt. Create a Python class named as employee with the fields first name, last name. So it is automatically suggesting me some list of fields. How do you accept? What is the key I have to accept this suggestion? What is the key I have to accept this suggestion? You can type me on the chat. What's the key I have to accept it? Tab key. So excellent. So tab key is a suggestion. So you have to accept it. Then typing tab key. Then print all the values using show details as a method. So this is just a mere prompt, okay, or it is a plain English. This plain English, the moment I hit enter, the code is going to be generated. Okay, let's see how the code is going to be generated. I'm going to hit enter. Typing here, the same thing. Just a moment. You can see here the code, complete code has been generated. Class employee, we have a constructor, we have a show methods, and you have an output. You can see John is the first name, Joe is the second name, last name, and there is a salary. The code will become very simplified version. And whatever the code has been generated by this model, you have to verify this code or else review this code with a lead team. Okay, you have to review this code with the lead team or else your architect team, you have to review it. So let me execute this code. I'm going to say Python sample3.py. You can see the first name, last name, and salary section. The result is printed. I hope this hands-on was clear to everyone. You can type in the chat. Any questions on these hands-on? The first two hands-on? Any doubt, guys? Okay. If there is no question, I'll move on to the next. The next hands-on what we will discuss is how will you deploy a machine learning model with the help of the GitHub Copilot. Okay. Let's do that. How to develop a machine learning model. So most of them aware about the Titanic dataset. In the Titanic dataset, that is a popular dataset which is used to build any ML model. Okay. For that, we need to import some libraries. So I'm going to put the prompt says that import pandas package. I just say in a plain English, it gives import pandas package. The code, the suggestion is given. How do you accept the prompt? Tab key is used to accept the prompt. Now I need to read the Titanic data frame. How do you read the Titanic data frame? Let's read titanic.csv file. I'm reading it. So the line says PD is the alias and read underscore CSV is nothing but the method and titanic.csv is the file. I'm going to display the first 5 rows of this data frame. It is automatically providing me the suggestions. I'm accepting this prompt. The method is named as head method. I'm just accepting it. And if I execute the code, you can see it is going to print me the first 5 records of the Titanic.csv file. So the 5 records has been printed. In the same manner, it is again listed me, let's say, print, display the last 5 records. Then it is tail method. If I want to print the shape of the data frame, it is shape method. If I want to print the columns, df.columns. If I want to print the data types, d types. If I want to print the information about non-null columns, info method. You can see the respective results one by one. So tail is going to print the last 5 records. Your shape method is nothing but total number of rows and total number of columns. That is your shape method. 891 rows and 12 columns. And D type stands for data type and info is nothing but non-null column values. And if I want to print the summary statistics like mean, median, mode, your standard deviation variance, I can use the method called as df.describe functionality. So using this GitHub Copilot, even you can build any machine learning model also. The machine learning model is also possible with the help of your GitHub Copilot. So the summer describe functionality gives you the mean, median, your 75th percentile, 25th percentile, 50th percentile. Your 50th percentile is nothing but the median value, and you're able to see the maximum value and the minimum value and the count value also with the help of summary statistics called as describe functionality. So right now I have used Python as a code. Similarly, in the GitHub, in the visual you can play around your Angular related prompt. If you're a React.js developer, install Node.js, NPM modules and the React modules, you can play around with your React.js stuff. Similarly, if you are a ASP.NET Core developer, you install all ASP related .NET Core framework modules here. On the top of that, you install GitHub Copilot. You can play around all your stuffs related to ASP.NET Core. So likewise, it supports Go programming as well as your Ruby on Rails. It is supported. 8 programming languages supported. 3 web-based frameworks supported by GitHub Copilot part. So for the entire GitHub Copilot, what is the ideal one which is required to proceed further is prompt engineering. Without prompt engineering, it is difficult to write a prompt. Without having any prompt knowledge, it is difficult to code in your GitHub Copilot. So there are certain ways where we can improve your coding workflow. One is this GitHub Copilot completes your 75% of code has been completed with the help of GitHub Copilot. And when I say error corrections as well as code refactoring, there is an option called as your GitHub Copilot chat. Okay, in the GitHub Copilot chat, what I can perform is you just give this one. I don't know anything about this third line. The third line explanation I want about this code. Just press Control I and just type slash explain. Okay. The moment you give explain, this is going to provide you the list of explanation about this particular code. I just given the option. So it is asking which one you want to explain. For example, I want to explain the fourth line. Fourth line I want to explain. Just type explain option. It will explain the fourth line importance. Let's wait for that. Just a second. I want to explain about the whole code. It has taken my old code just a minute, guys. I will change it. It's slow, just a moment. You can see that the code has been explaining in this format, like provided df.info is used to print the concise summary. So this is nothing but your explain functionality. Similarly, I made a mistake like one close bracket, I missed it. Okay. Let me highlight this. Control I slash fix this. So what is the problem? It is going to fix it. Let's see it. You can see here what was the problem to fix it. You can see. So to solve this problem, I would like to add a closing parenthesis at the end of the statement. Accept this. So it will add the closing parenthesis. Same manner, if you want to know any documentation related stuff, just type DOC. This will give you the complete documentation about the whole code. Add documentation, it will give the whole documentation stuff. Then similarly, if I want to get the unit test case for this particular code, it will write the unit test cases also, slash test. So slash test is used to write the unit test cases for your whole code. If I want to write any unit test cases for the whole code, it will write it. This is a whole unit test case code. If I want to write it, I can make use of slash test. So slash test is a functionality where it is going to write control I slash test. If I want to generate any unit test cases, you can go for slash test. So slash test is for the unit test case functionality. So with the help of GitHub Copilot chat, we can see there are four important slash commands. One is slash doc. Slash doc is going to add documentation command for your entire code. Slash explain is your selected code I want to explain. You can go for slash explain. Slash fix is nothing but if there is any problem in the code, you can go for slash fix. And slash test is nothing but this is used to generate a unit test case for the entire selected code, that is slash test. So with the help of your slash fix as well as slash test, you can go for the error corrections. And for if I want to refactor the whole code, you can go for slash documentation slash UOCs for the full code refactoring part. Then this using GitHub Copilot, it is easy to navigate from one editor support to another editor support. You can collaborate the GitHub Copilot within the team so that the team performance will be improved when you go for the GitHub Copilot stuff. And this GitHub Copilot is easily integrated in any of your IDEs, especially the 4 IDE support. So main important thing for GitHub Copilot is prompt engineering. Okay. If you are not crafting the prompt in an effective manner, then GitHub Copilot will go for a toss. So you should start learning the prompt engineering aspect. And if you provide the relevant prompt or a correct prompt, your response will be more accurate. If I want to leverage any AI model or if I want to guide any AI model, prompt engineering is a major key to guide the AI model, especially your GitHub Copilot. So to understand prompt engineering, this is an illustration of prompt engineering aspect. So here there is a robot part. In this robot, it is having a bunch of breads, and this bunch of breads I am serving to a 4 people table, and I have to provide a proper instruction for breads. I need to slice it into different options and different vegetables, cabbages I need to add. All I have to provide those detailed prompts so that your prompt engineering will be the major key for the GitHub Copilot. If the prompt went wrong, the results will be go for a task. So start learning prompt engineering is a major key for GitHub Copilot. So some of the best practices of prompt engineering with the GitHub Copilot, always provide your high level context with proper instruction. That is the first one you have to provide it. Give a specification like provide detailed examples so that your code will be generated more relevant, and use suggestions provided by the tool, and use suggestions or else error corrections provided by the tool in an effective manner. That is important best practices. Always keep the version repository updated. Don't use any outdated version, and collaborate these type of tools with your team. Communicate with the team properly in terms of collaboration, in terms of best practices as concerned. And there are two important pricing aspects. One is your pricing for GitHub Copilot. Individual, it is $10 per month you have to pay. For business, it is $19 per month. And so I'm using individual for per license. I'm paying $10 per month. If it is a business or an enterprise, you can go with $19 per month. So there's the pricing aspect. And where you can make use of this GitHub Copilot in a real time is it is especially used in the web development, your backend development, mobile application development, data science, machine learning. You can use this GitHub Copilot. And this is one of the best cores available in the Microsoft for the GitHub Copilot. You can scan this QR code and you can get the complete detailings about the GitHub Copilot. So I'll pass it here for scanning this QR code. So that's it. Thank you so much. And this is my QR code to connect me on LinkedIn. You guys can connect me on LinkedIn for the QR code. So Chaitanya, over to you for question and answers.
Yes, Janardhan, we have few questions that have been asked in the chat box.
Okay.
So yeah,
What was the
uh,
question?
one I answered. One is
What
related to the
was?
certificate for attendance. So we will be sharing a form in the end of the session, and you can fill it for the certificate of participation for today's session. Yeah.
Okay,
So
next is,
one
does
question.
GitHub Copilot take control or access over source code file? So this source code file, it is taken from the publicly available repository. It is our duty to take those privacy as well as legal data for your organization. Before you started sharing your legal data or else your enterprise data, you have to double check. The GitHub Copilot, so there is no organization data, there is no private data. You have to double check before you generate those codes. Coding made easy with GitHub Copilot. Yes, coding will be made easy. The only one thing is you should know the prompt engineering aspect. If you know the prompt engineering aspect very clear manner, the GitHub Copilot will provide easy to do your task. Can I fix a complicated error inside the code, or it has own limitations for error fixing? Okay. Even you can fix your complicated error code also with the help of slash fix. Slash fix, you can fix it. Does GitHub Copilot address concern related to code plagiarism or intellectual property rights when generating code based on the existing code snippet? Okay, so it addresses your code plagiarism, GitHub Copilot tool. It will not give you anything code which is without taking the credit or else permission of the user. It will not provide any other information. So that is given already. Can I share the QR code, the developer code again? Okay, I'll share it. I have attended webinar using GitHub Copilot for diseases elimination, health diseases. I have seen the Copilot for NASA using determine soil fertility. Okay, you can you share the success story of GitHub Copilot? So what is my success story of the GitHub Copilot is most of the developers productivity has been improved as well as their innovation stuff got improved there for GitHub Copilot part. The other success story is even though you are a .NET developer, I don't have any privilege to learn Java or else your Angular or React JS. My project is on Angular React JS. So no need to waste time on learning those aspects. You start using the GitHub Copilot tool, it will be more simplifying your code development aspect. Okay. Those are the success stories of GitHub Copilot. People are asking me the two QR code. I'll show the QR code again. So this is a QR code where you can scan for the GitHub Copilot, complete the fundamentals. This certificate is provided by Microsoft. You can check it out.
Also, there's one question that got missed. How much is the license? Is it shareable?
License is not shareable. For individual, it was not shareable. For business, it was shareable.
Okay. Also, there's one question in the Q&A section. Is there a student educational institutional
Okay,
package
for
for GitHub?
student and educational professional, your engineering colleges or else your bachelor degrees like BTech, BSc, for all these people, your GitHub Copilot license is free. You have to upload your college ID card of this year to get the complete free access of GitHub Copilot. It is not chargeable for students. It's completely free.
Okay. And there's one more question. Does using GitHub Copilot also puts us at disadvantages of not being able to improve our problem and debugging skills?
So with the help of
If
GitHub
we
Copilot,
are
see
not
all
if
this
we are
GitHub
not
Copilot tool
yeah.
is for simplifying the code development. Okay, in the today's world, nobody don't have any time to do reading this code like new technologies. Okay. With the help of GitHub Copilot, even if you know the prompt engineering aspect, if you are pre-sales person also, you can start writing code. That's the power of GitHub Copilot.
Yeah, so the question meant, do you recommend any beginner who is not an experienced developer, do you recommend him, like, because in the end it mentioned like a not experienced developer.
So anybody can use it. Okay, there is no beginners, there is no expert, there is no intermediate. If you know plain English, that's enough. The only one important aspect is reviewing the code is an art. The code
Yeah.
generated by this model is not always 100% correct. Okay. Even GitHub Copilot can do mistakes as well. Any other questions?
So do we have any other questions? A QR code or Microsoft Learn link, please.
QR code I will show also one more time. Please scan it. If you're not guys, don't scan it again. Please scan it one more time. I'll make the window for a minute time.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, then please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we will call it a day. So this is the moment to ask your questions, all doubts regarding the session or anything else.
I hope the session was interesting.
Yeah, please do share your feedback as well in the chat box. How was the session and how did you liked it? Yes, I mean, I can surely say it was very interesting. It was interesting for me, and I think it's interesting for everyone. So do write down your do give your feedback in the chat box. Very informative webinar. Yeah, so the recording will be shared on our YouTube channel. You can see the recording on our YouTube channel for today's session.
Anything else?
So if anyone has any doubts, then feel free to connect Janardhan on his LinkedIn, and you can ask the doubts there as well. And yeah, I think we are good to go. Thank you so much, Janardhan. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining. And I'm sure everyone has liked a lot about the way you teached and the way you covered all the topics for GitHub Copilot. And on behalf of everyone, I would like to say thanks to you. We look forward to have you in the upcoming session as well.
Thank you so much, Chaitanya, for providing me the opportunity. And we will see in the month of March as well. Hope so.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank
Thank you so
you.
much, guys. All the best.
So I have shared the attendance form in the chat box. Please fill it for the certificate. And I think for those who didn't receive the certificate for the previous event, I think you missed it, or there will might be some technical issue. Uh, Already filled up the certificate but not received. For this event, did you fill it? Because I think it should work, or maybe there's some technical issue, but don't worry. Even if you fill the certificate, we have your record, we have your details, and uh, you can connect with us and we will send you the certificate. No worries about that. We will send you the e-certificate over the mail. Thank you for the great session. If anyone can confirm that whether you can able to fill the form and receive if you can receive the certificate, I think it should work. Let me just pin the form in the comment section. Yeah. Okay, so for introduction to Terraform in Azure. Okay, so yeah, there is some technical issue in that form, that event. We will connect with you. We will send the certificates. I mean, there might be you have to fill the form again. So we'll share the form again with you. There was some technical issue as far as I know. We will look into this and we will share the certificate with you. Thank you. Thanks. You liked our platform. So thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining today. You can scan. I hope my screen is visible. So you can scan this QR code and join our community if you haven't. The recording will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. I'll share the link. Just give me a minute. And I'll also share the link of our community in the chat box. Yeah. So I've shared the link in the chat box. I hope you can see. Okay. Okay. You would like to connect with Janardhan. Okay. Let me just share his LinkedIn. So you can connect with us on LinkedIn, and you can connect with Janardhan as well, who is the speaker. Yeah. So this is the LinkedIn for the speaker. Yeah. And yeah, you can join our community as well. This is the QR. You can scan this QR code. You can join us on Discord. You can join us on WhatsApp. If you are not on Discord, then you can join us on WhatsApp, and do follow us on our social media handle as well. This motivates us to bring more and more events for you guys. So do follow us. So if anyone has any doubt, they can uh, ask me. And I hope you have received your certificate for today's session. If anyone can confirm this, it would be great. If anyone can just confirm that whether they have received the certificate. Also, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining. We look forward to have you all in the upcoming sessions as well.